Hey, so what is up guys, it's Pohdoh here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about all the different stats and which ones are useful for a mage and which one are not. So anyways, I'm just going to be briefly going through, what all of them do exactly, and then afterwards I'm going to be talking about which one you should prioritize compared to others for PvP and for PvE. So this will be a pretty brief video since there isn't really that much to talk about. So anyways, we're going to be looking at some of the base stats first. First of all, there's stamina. It works the exact same way as any other class besides a tank, and which is that 10 stamina is 100 health, so 100 stamina is 1000 extra health. So if you're in PvP, if you're going for PvP, you want to stack this the most, because the thing is that this isn't affected by diminishing return, meaning that no matter how much stamina you already have, it'll always give you an equal amount of health. It'll always give you the same amount of benefit, and that's not the same for the next stat, which is resilience, because resilience is a little different, meaning that as you get more resilience, every point of resilience becomes less valuable. So for example, if you already have 50% resilience and you got a new gear that gave you 100 extra resilience, it would only give you about 1% extra resilience at best. However, if you had 10% resilience and then you got a gear that gave you 100 extra resilience, it would increase your resilience by like 10%ish. I'm just making numbers up, but you can see that the benefit from resilience decreases as you get more of it. But that isn't the same way. It isn't the same with stamina. Stamina, no matter how much HP you have, you'll always get more. You always get the same amount of HP back, which is 100 stamina is 1000 health. Anyways, those are those two stats. These are stamina and resilience are by far the most important stats for PvP. Now we're going to be going on to the PvE aspect, because only stamina and resilience really matters for PvP at all. For mages, to be honest, you only need to stack these two. As for PvE, which is for dungeons, there's going to be wisdom. Wisdom does three things if you have the erudition talent, and you can look at what erudition is in my previous video about ice mage talents. But what wisdom does is that it increases your mana at the same rate as your HP, like 100 HP, 100 wisdom is 1000 extra mana. But that doesn't really matter, because as of now, with the update 2.5.0, mana is really unimportant as a dungeon mage, since you never run out of mana anyways with Zeal, with the Fire Mastery. And it also increases your critical chance by a very small amount. 125 wisdom is 1 extra percent of spell crit, but it is still way better to wear PvE gear with wisdom instead of PvP gear with stamina, because you'll see a difference in DPS as it all stacks up. And also with erudition, it increases your spell power by 1 point. 1 wisdom is 1 extra spell power, and that's really important since it makes a lot of your gear, which would be useless without erudition, and suddenly makes them really useful. And it also increases your damage immensely for fireball and all these other really long cast time spells, which you normally can't use in PvP very well. So anyways, looking at the other stats, which are from spell attack, which is the only one that mages really use, there's spell power. And spell power works a little differently as people think. Yes, if you have more spell power, you do more damage, but there's a few mechanics you might want to know about spell power that's really important. And it's that spell power, it increases the damage of your longer cast time more than it does increase the damage of your shorter cast time. I mean that if you had 1000 extra spell power, your shockwave damage will only be increased by like 500 extra, but then your fireball damage will be easily increased by 3000, 4000 more damage. And it's just how the game works, is that spell power will increase the damage of your spells with longer cast time, meaning including the ticks of your flamestorm, including elemental finishing, and especially fireball. Those three spells are heavily affected by spell power. But then spells like lightning, shockwave, frost blast, all those which are insta cast, and other spells which have really short cast times, they're not affected by spell power very much at all. So anyways, moving on to the next one, there is spell hit chance. The more spell hit, how about this then? Naturally, your spells have a chance to be resisted by the enemy. So if you have more spell hit, that means the likelihood that your spells will get resisted will become a lot lower. There's no such thing as spell miss. Your spells cannot get dodged, your spells cannot get blocked or parried. The only thing that can happen to it is that it can be resisted. So once you hit a certain spell hit chance, you'll always be dealing damage. Your stuff will not get resisted at all, unless the opponent has special resist gear, but that's unimportant for now. So just keep in mind, you want to hit for PvP, you want to hit around 97ish, 98 spell hit chance, or else all of your control spells, including your freeze, sleep, Your freeze, sleep, your silences will all get resisted, here and there if you don't have good enough spell hit chance. So it's something you just want to keep in mind. But for PvE, you already have so much of it, doesn't really even matter. So anyways, moving on. There is also spell critical chance. This is by far the most important stat for mages, and if you're looking to gear up your mages, it's the first thing you want to look for. Don't worry about spell power, don't worry about wisdom, don't worry about anything, just get maximum spell crit. Until you have around 40-ish% spell crit, you don't even want to be investing in anything else. Spell crit is incredibly important because, with the Fire Master, you're doing about 2.7 times more damage with your fire crits. So actually no, it's around 2.2 now that they changed the Fire Master. But either way, you're gonna be doing so much more damage every time your spell crits. So you want to get maximum spell crit. This is if you have every single time you get extra spell crit, you do a lot more overall damage, even though the numbers aren't as big. So just keep that in mind. It's the number one most important stat for a mage. And then another one is there's gonna be spell haste, and that's something not a lot of people really know about because it requires a lot more testing. I'll talk about it more in some of my other videos where I talk about haste for other classes. But what haste does is that it reduces the cast time of all your spells, including it reduces the cast time of all your spells by 13%. It will also reduce the cooldowns of all your non-control spells, meaning that Frost Blast, Blaze Prison, Winter Sleep, all those are not affected by spell haste because they are control spells or they have some kind of control effect. Same goes with Cyclone because Cyclone has an interrupt, so it is not affected by spell haste. But everything else such as Fireball, Shockwave, all that stuff is all reduced. The cooldown of them are all reduced by spell haste. And another thing about spell haste is that it also let's see. Actually, I think that might be all just for mages. I think I might be forgetting. Oh yeah, it also increases the speed of your ticks of all your damage over time spells. Meaning that Flamestorm, once you get enough haste, your Flamestorm will do 1 additional tick of damage. And I'm not exactly sure when that haste mark is because I haven't really bothered to count it. But just keep that in mind that once you never want to stack haste. Haste isn't that important, but it still will affect your damage in slight ways as you get more and more of it. So just keep that in mind. And then it also that's pretty much it. And then there's also the other ones such as there is the obligatory Holy Energy, Frost, Fire, Shadow, Poison, and Heal Power, all those, but none of those are really important because there's not really any mechanics in the game based around just one spell power, one type of spell power. So anyways, that's the end of the video, guys. There are some few stats such as resistance, which I'll talk about in a more advanced video, but then for now that's all you really need to know about mages regarding stats. So I hope you found this helpful, and then it's Pohdoh here. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.